What did we really learn from the video and audio footage that has been leaked and released from law enforcement so far? Hey everyone, it's Lucky with Unfiltered Lucky. And today I want to talk a little bit about the Idaho 4 crimes. Now, I haven't really touched on too much of the video and the audio that we've seen so far. I haven't really talked about Linda Lane or Bandfield. But today I want to touch on those two and also talk about some of the other video and audio that we've seen so far. Now, I'm going to start at the Corner Club because the Corner Club is kind of where the video begins. Now, in the Corner Club video, I just don't really see anything that's really that odd or out of the ordinary. I mean, we're not looking at a video, we're looking at a picture of a monitor that's showing the footage from a security camera. So this footage, in my opinion, I mean, it gives us a time of when Kaylee and Maddie were at the Corner Club, which it was stated that they were at the Corner Club from 9 p.m. until 1:30 a.m. So they were there for 4.5 hours, which to me, that seems like a long time to be at one bar. I feel like to be at one bar for 4.5 hours, you would have had to have a purpose to be there. That's just what I think. I mean, maybe it's just the hot spot in that town and that's where they were at that night. So we know from this footage or from this picture that Kaylee and Maddie were at the Corner Club from 9 until 1:30. That's all we really know from this footage, other than that this is where Jack S. appears. And Jack S. can be seen just kind of hanging around in the background. Now, when you look at this photo, it doesn't look like Jack S. is really with anybody in this photo. He just kind of seems to be hanging around. You know, Kaylee and Maddie, they have their backs turned towards Jack. So, Jack S. And so, he doesn't really seem to be part of the group. He's just kind of hanging around. And this is the first time that we see Jack S. hanging around Maddie and Kaylee. Now, once they leave the Corner Club and they begin walking to the Grub truck, we do see some footage that was caught along the sidewalk as they're walking to the Grub truck. And this footage is where I believe this footage is important. This footage basically, Kaylee asks Maddie, what she told Adam. And Maddie says, I told Adam everything. Then Jack S. says, they're gonna get you, Maddie. And that's where it got weird, because if Jack S. wouldn't have said that, then this conversation could have been about anything. This conversation could have been Kaylee asking Maddie, what were you telling Adam about? And, maybe Maddie was telling Adam about, a boy or something going on in the house. But the fact that Jack S. said, in response, they're going to get you, Maddie, that tells us that this was something different. Now, this is the second video in which we see Jack S. So Jack S. is still hanging around them. Now, they walk to the Grub truck. Now that video, the video where Jack S. tells Maddie, they're gonna get you, Maddie, I believe this video is of importance. And I believe this video was leaked, if I'm not mistaken. So they get to the Grub truck, and There's a lot going on at the Grub truck. I've heard a lot of stories about the Grub truck and what people believe is happening around the Grub truck. But to me, I just don't feel like it's that complex. I don't feel like the Grub truck footage is really that complex. I feel like one of the things I noticed in the Grub truck footage immediately was that Maddie and Kaylee were very intoxicated. Now, also, what we learned from the Grub truck footage is what time Maddie and Kaylee were at the Grub truck and where they were during this time before they got into a car to go home. So this is their last location before they go home. Now, there's a lot of people standing around this Grub truck, probably waiting for their food. This might be a place where students kind of come to meet when the bars close. So there might be just people hanging around. There might be guys just hanging around hoping to maybe meet a girl coming from the bar, or vice versa, a girl hanging around to hopefully meet a guy. We don't know. But there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of rumors around the Grub truck footage. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and I'm not saying that these rumors are absolutely wrong. I'm not saying that they're impossible. I'm just saying that for me, this isn't what I see in the Grub truck footage. And so there's a lot of speculation about the guy who was talking to Jack S. And he's waiting for his food, and he's holding a can of Coca-Cola. Now, a lot of people have speculated that, this can of Coke was a hidden camera, and that he was photographing the girls. And I just don't believe that. I feel like this was a can of Coca-Cola. I feel like this was a Grub truck. So it's likely that they don't have fountain drinks on this food truck. Many food trucks, sell soft drinks in cans. So they don't have to have a beverage dispenser. So to me, the Coca-Cola can, to me, I believe that's a can of Coke. Now, there's also some rumors about that some of the people that were around this Grub truck were watching some type of event on their cell phones, and that this was an event that could have been live streamed, and that some of these people appeared to be yelling out Xana's name. Now, I don't believe that you could live stream, say, some type of fight or something like that. I just don't believe you could live stream that and put that out there for that many people, because at that point you don't really have, at that point anybody could see this live stream, and somebody's bound to see it that's going to immediately tell authorities. So I just don't believe that people were calling out Xana's name. And if they were calling out Xana's name, it is possible. I mean, it is an uncommon name, but it is possible that somebody else there maybe was named Xana. I mean, there's been a lot of rumors that Xana and Ethan were at the Grub truck, which I still have not seen any footage of them, of anybody who even looks like them at the Grub truck. I just feel like the Grub truck footage basically gives us a sense of time of when Maddie and Kaylee were there. Now, there's also another rumor that the Grub truck was selling illegal substances, and that they're selling illegal substances out of this Grub truck. And I feel like that's a little far-fetched. I mean, I feel like if you were going to sell narcotics out of your food truck, that you wouldn't want to provide a live stream for your customers. I don't feel like you would want to live stream it. I just don't feel like that. I feel like that might be a little far fetched. And now I'm not saying that it's impossible because I'm sure there's probably a lot of service type of trucks that are selling more than what they're advertising. But, you know, I just don't feel like the Grub truck would be live streaming their customers and their food truck if they were trying to keep something hidden. I feel like they're just a local food truck. Now, one of the things that we do see at the Grub truck, again, is Jack S. for the third time. So now we see Jack S., and he's just kind of hanging around in the back. He's not there to buy food. He's not buying anything to drink. He's just hanging around, and at one point it looks like Maddie maybe gets upset with them, and they're talking back and forth, and she throws him a finger. People have said, did this, that may have led to something, but I just believe that, Kaylee and Maddie were intoxicated, and Maddie was, in my opinion, more intoxicated than Kaylee. She was kind of swaying and she was stumbling around. She was intoxicated. And I just didn't really see anything that looked like an uncommon interaction. There's people hanging around this Grub truck. And like I said, to me, the Grub truck footage tells us where Kaylee and Maddie were at that time. It tells us where Jack S. was at that time. And it also kind of shows Jack S. just kind of hanging around in the background, so this is something that I think a lot of people forget, but we always have to keep in mind that these individuals, Kaylee and Maddie and Jack, they're probably not thinking that they're being recorded. I mean, I don't walk into a bar or a restaurant or a store and automatically think I'm on camera. Like, I wouldn't think that a lot of us do. I mean, it's become so common nowadays that there's so many cameras out there that I don't think a lot of us walk into an establishment and automatically think I'm on camera. So Kaylee and Maddie and Jack, they're not thinking that they're being recorded. Jack is not thinking I'm going to show up in every single one of these videos as we track where Kaylee and Maddie went that night. Jack S. isn't thinking that way. But here he is in every video. He's doing the same thing in every video. He's just hanging around in the background, just kind of shadowing the girls. He's following them, and it doesn't seem like they want to make him part of the group. But anyway, that's what I get from the Grub truck. I feel like the Grub truck, we get the opportunity also to see them leave and walk towards the vehicle that they're going to get a ride from, and we get to see Jack go the other direction. So we know that Jack did not go with them. So that's something that we get from the Grub truck footage. Now, the Linda Lane footage, I've watched a lot of Linda Lane footage. And one thing that I really try to do when I'm looking at security camera video or a Ring camera video is I try to look at it for what it is. Now I know that filters and enhancements are very common in these types of videos. And, it's nice when they can lighten it up so you can kind of see a little bit better what's in this video. But I try not to really watch the videos that have been over enhanced. There's some amazing creators out there doing some amazing things with these videos. But to me, I kind of like to just stick to what I'm seeing and what my eyes are seeing. And Linda Lane, I think, shows us that there were cars out driving around that night. There were people out that night. I don't feel like the Linda Lane footage. You know, all I can say is that I've never seen a clear image from the Linda Lane footage, other than up close. Other than the 1 to 2 hour of Linda Lane footage. I mean that you can see clear up close, but other than that, I haven't seen anything clear of 1122 King Road or anything that's absolutely clear on this video that has anything to do with that house. Now, the Bandfield footage, to me, again, I feel like it's a pretty common interaction between law enforcement on campus and students. Catching students drinking underage. I feel like the dialogue between law enforcement and these students in the Bandfield, I feel like law enforcement is being very courteous and professional with them, and I feel like they're being, very respectful and courteous back to law enforcement. To me, I do think that it's odd that law enforcement was right outside, at approximately 3 a.m., right outside of the King Road house. I do find that odd. I find it odd that, they had there was a call that went into 911 at 3:01 a.m. But law enforcement was already with these kids in the Bandfield at 3:01 a.m. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that you can hear the call come over the officer's radio on the body cam footage at 3:01. So I always wondered what happened with that 3:01 call, because it was I believe it was reported as an alcohol related incident, but law enforcement was already there because they were basically out there trying to catch kids drinking underage, allegedly. Now, this call comes in at 3:01 a.m. They're already out there, so I think there's some confusion about whether that was the call that came from Bandfield, or where did that 3:01 call go to? What happened with that call? I think that's very confusing as to how, because they were already out there with underage drinkers. So I think that's kind of confusing with that 3:01 a.m. 911 call and who was calling 911. I feel like the Bandfield is probably a very heavy used walkway, and I feel like people walk through the Bandfield quite a bit. So, who in that area would call the cops? That's what I don't understand. Who in that area? This seems like a party area. That's one thing I do notice from the Bandfield footage, is that this place is jumping around 3 a.m. There's people walking around this area. There's parties going on. There's people walking around with alcohol. There's people around this area. This area is pretty active at 3 a.m. in my opinion. And that's one of the things that I noticed from the body cam footage was there's cars driving by. There's, you can hear people in the background on the body cam footage. For me, the most interesting aspect of the body cam footage from Bandfield was I was trying to see the angles at which their body cams were pointed toward the house. So I wanted to see if you could see 1122 King Road from these body cams. Possibly be able to see headlights or somebody parking or somebody leaving. So, I think that was rather important. And it gave us another, part of the timeline that law enforcement was right outside at the approximate time that these crimes were being committed. So, other than that, I believe that the students who were stopped for underage drinking, I believe I mean, I guess it's possible that they might have known what was happening, just through word of mouth because people were around there. But I believe that they were just out partying. They may have been up to no good, but that's what I took from the Bandfield video. Now, one thing I do want to talk about as far as the Bandfield video is at 3:12, you see in the right-hand corner of the video, you see 4 to 5 individuals running from the area of the crime scene. You see that they run and they pass in front of a light. And they're moving pretty fast. And they're moving toward the fraternity house. Away, and they're coming from the crime scene. So that always made me wonder, because law enforcement released that body cam footage. So it always made me wonder if law enforcement even had reviewed this body cam footage, because it seems like they would have seen that. And they may not have released that part. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's possible that law enforcement did see that, but it seems weird that they would release that. I mean, they've been so secretive about everything. It seems weird that they would release, the end of that footage and show those 4 to 5 individuals running past that light away from the crime scene. So I thought that was rather interesting when it came to the Bandfield footage. And I've watched the Bandfield footage a lot. I've watched a lot of this footage, quite a bit. And a lot of it is just, a lot of it to me is just everyday footage. As I said, not everybody, thinks to themselves, I'm on camera right now. And another thing is that just because a crime is committed in an area, it doesn't mean that everybody in that area was involved in that crime. We're looking at everybody, and we're looking at people's actions and reactions, and we're looking at, we're listening to the things that they say, and we're keeping an eye on all of these details. But one of the things that we always have to keep in mind is that just because somebody was in this area does not mean that they know anything about this crime or that they're aware of this crime. And I think that that's something that's very important. Just because somebody maybe, was around there doing their job, delivering food or giving, or driving for Uber or whatever, just because somebody was in this area does not mean that they were involved in this crime. And I think that that's something that's important to remember, because, I believe that, I feel like I've watched a lot of videos and they just keep expanding it and expanding out. And I think that it's important to keep in mind that, that not everybody in this area was aware of this crime or knew anything about this crime. These people are just living their everyday lives. So, we always have to keep that in mind. Now, the last footage that I really want to talk about is the traffic cams. The traffic cams that law enforcement supposedly used to track Brian Kohberger's 4-door white Hyundai Elantra between 2 cities and track his movements as if they were describing it in real time. If you think about this footage, now we also have to remember we haven't seen one clear image of Brian Kohberger in his car on any footage at all whatsoever that's been released. We have not seen Brian Kohberger behind the wheel of his car in any footage at all whatsoever. I feel like law enforcement and investigators, and the prosecution, they talk about, people speculating about these crimes and people, having their own opinions about these crimes. And, I feel like if they really wanted to squash all that, they could release one photo of Brian Koberger sitting in his car at the crime scene. You know, that would take care of all the speculation. So, to me, I feel like it's strange that they pieced this all together. They pieced it all together for the PCA so that they could arrest Brian Koberger. And they followed Brian Koberger's car in between Moscow, Idaho, and Pullman, Washington, and everywhere in between. Now, next time you go somewhere, you might be out and about right now, but next time you're in your vehicle and you're on the street driving, look around at traffic and look around and look around at all the cars around you and think to yourself, would it be possible to pick my car out and basically map in real time where I went all day? A white four-door Hyundai Elantra. There's a lot of those on the road. There's a lot of white four-door sedans on the road. But they picked out Brian Koberger's car and basically followed him all over, almost like it was in real time. A few times there, I had to remind myself that they were piecing this together with video. I had to come back to reality. Now, I don't understand, how they managed to piece all this together and follow Brian Koberger's car. I want to stress that because they were following Brian Koberger's car because they're saying that this is the same car in every single camera. This is the same Hyundai Elantra. And that's how they mapped this all out. Almost like it was in real time. But it wasn't. So this footage to me, I mean, I feel, in my opinion, it's a reach. It's a reach for law enforcement. And I just don't feel like, I mean, they made it sound like, they knew where he was pulling up. They knew where he was going. We don't even know that this was the same car. They also knew that it was a 2011 to 2013, but Brian Koberger's car was a 2015. So then those years were extended. Now we're looking for 2011 to 2016. The footage can be very helpful. Video and audio that can solve crimes. So it's good that we have this video and it's good that we have this audio because we do know where Kaylee and Maddie were. So, we can kind of follow their path to where they were. Jack S being in every video, just kind of lingering in the background, that's just a thing for me. I don't understand that. I don't understand how, I'm not saying that Jack S did anything wrong. I'm just saying I don't understand why he was cleared so quickly. Jack S is in every single video with Kaylee and Maddie. Every single video, leading right up until their deaths. So Jack S was really the last person, other than the driver who drove them home. Jack S is the only person that was with them all night, following them around all night. So it just seems to me that they would have definitely taken a long, hard look at the individual who was with Maddie and Kaylee right before they lost their lives, with them all night long. So that's kind of my views on a lot of the video footage that we've seen. A lot of y'all have asked me about, what I think about certain videos and what I think about certain audio. And so that's just some of my thoughts on the video and the audio that we got to see from throughout that evening. Now, stay tuned for my next video. I'm going to be talking a lot more about the Idaho 4, and if you're subscribed to my channel, you'll notice that I am beginning to talk about the Delphi crimes. So I'm going to do a deep dive into the Delphi crimes. I'm also going to be talking about the Rebecca Zahau crimes. That's kind of a side project for me. It's just something that really piqued my interest. So it's something that I definitely want to talk about on this channel. But I'm definitely going to cover a lot more about the Idaho 4. And thanks for watching. Please like and please subscribe to my channel if you like my content. I really appreciate it.